Felicia Darling. I get to bring Felicia Darling up. Dr. Felicia Darling, a professor at
Hey,
UC Berkeley. Hello and welcome. We're so glad to see you again. The author of Empathy Unchained, Heal Your Trauma and Uplift the World. Already speaking my language. Today, Dr. Darling is going to take us from math circles to empathy circles, building a bottom-up movement. Take it away.
thanks. And I'm only a lecturer at Berkeley, just FYI. All right. And everyone can hear me okay? Yeah? Okay, cool, cool. Yeah, I'm glad Masha went first. That was super helpful because I'm going to talk to you about a bottom-up approach that I use in my classroom. It's just one example that I use just as a point of her example. Like it can start anywhere. And so I'm using this diagram, which ChatGPT and I created. And you hear vision, inspiration up here. This is the top-down global empathy movement. And that's a lot what Masha was talking about, the vision, the inspiration, the big ideas, and that happens at a larger level. And then the global empathy movement, governments, corporations, that's Edwin with his big ideas and books and the empathy center. That's that. I think of that. It has some bottom up parts too, but I think of that as up there. And I'm down here going to talk today about a bottom up approach that could happen in churches, individuals, communities, local initiatives, schools, or families. It's like the education, art, tech, as Masha was saying. So ChatGPT and I created that. Anyway, so I'm doing one example of a top up movement or bottom up movement. Sorry, bottom up. So I just want to go back up a little bit. So education this used to be the model. Here's the teacher in the middle. All the interactions were teacher, student, teacher, student, teacher, student, teacher, student. Now we've moved on to this model here, hopefully in many schools, where student to student, teacher to student. And you're like, where's the teacher here, right? There's the teacher, right? They're not the center. Everything doesn't go through them. And that's why we need more empathy, because teachers are facilitating more complex instruction that involves more interconnectedness. This is from my book. We move from this teacher pouring knowledge into students' flip top heads, very kind of authoritarianism. It's called behavioralism, no, sorry. And then to this model where here's the teacher facilitating, students co-constructing instruction, co-constructing knowledge. You can see that's going to require a lot more empathy. Here's the teacher. Why do you think that? They're eliciting student input. I made the assumption that gender was the co-founding variable. Oh, I assume that income was the co-founding variable. You can see just the whole lack of empathy there, or the tendency to not need as much empathy and needing it a little bit more here. So I'm going to talk about my one example of a bottom up, being part of a global empathy movement going bottom up. And so I created this class called Playing with Mindfulness and Math. And it was for lifelong learners, so a lot of seniors in the College of Marin. And we talked about Mayan math, super exciting. They created a date in Mayan math. We talked about how different that felt. We talked about growth mindset. We did number talks and dot talks about recognizing numbers in indigenous cultures. We talked about real life math. There's some real life spirals in nature, Fibonacci sequence. We talked about indigenous art and math, looking at patterns and shapes, more indigenous art and math. But the class that students loved the most, and I mean, I'm talking, we shifted from, yeah, that class is good, that was fun, to like they're moved by the class. We love this class. Like suddenly they're talking with their hearts. You know, and we see that in math class, was the empathy circle class. And in that class, we started out, I gave them a 15-minute, taught them what an empathy circle was, and very boldly said, okay, we're doing an empathy circle. Why? And then we talked about why is mindful speaking and reflective listening important in math discussions, or whatever is alive for you today. And we did that for 15 minutes. Then we watched this video. So I'm just going to kind of show you what we did in that class as my small example of being part of the global empathy movement bottom up. Then I showed this video where ants and humans did a particular task. I'm going to have to grab that video because for whatever reason I didn't cue it. I didn't. All right, where it is. Oh, good. Here it is. I'm going to show you that video right now. It's tiny. It's 30 seconds, but I wanted you to see what they did in the class. So they went ahead and I'm going to have to open up the thing here and I have to share my screen. All right, stop that. There you go. I'm not talking to you. Not talking to the voices in my head either. All right. So I'm going to share this using some sound. Hopefully you'll be able to hear it. It didn't let me share the sound. Where's that option? Here it is, share sound. Oh, Zoom has changed a bit. That's okay. All right. So I'm going to try to open this and make it as big as I can. So I want you to see kind of the experience they had. They had an empathy circle, then this little video here before we did it.
Ants versus humans. This experiment was done to determine who has better problem-solving skills in groups. The task was for both ants and humans to maneuver a T-shaped object through a maze. Note that the humans were prevented from communicating with each other, replicating the same abilities as ants. The experiment showed that ants actually performed better in a group than humans. This is because the humans had a greedy solution approach in the group, where each human wanted to move the object in their own way, whereas the ants acted more as a colony, a single unified entity with a shared goal. Ants versus humans.
Okay, now we're going to stop that. We're going to try to stop it. Okay, so that's the video that we showed, and then I asked students, hey, what were your thoughts on that? After we did an empathy circle, and no one had ever done an empathy circle before, right? So we did an empathy circle, the ants versus humans, which they loved. I'm like, any thoughts on that? Could you all hear that okay? Yeah. Okay, cool. And so put that in chat. And then we did what is a mystery number activity? Again, me and ChatGPT figured this one out. Or for those of you who want to be grammatically correct, ChatGPT and I did it. And so I'm going to ask you all to play along with this what is the mystery number game, because I want you to kind of feel how different it is than some other math tasks that people might use, and how this math task in combination with a little video and the empathy circle might create more empathy in math class. Okay, so for this task, each person receives a clue. So I'm going to need 6 volunteers. And the goal is to figure out the mystery number by only orally sharing your clue. However, you're not allowed to show your paper or write in chat. You must describe it using language. So I'm going to go ahead. I think we have time, right? Yeah, we have time. I'm just going to go ahead and put this in chat, and I'm going to ask for 6 volunteers. I don't want to just pick you. So 6 volunteers, just quickly say yes, 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 yes. It's not going to be hard, but
yes.
In chat. Wait, do I have no volunteers? It's okay. I don't see any volunteers. Oh, there we go. Ingrid, anybody else? Daniel, thank you. Anyone else? Josh, thank you. Anyone else? Sally, okay. Gotta find those people. That's all right. We could use 2 more, but I'm gonna go ahead and start right now and I'm gonna give you, I think we can do this in the group. In the class, we did it just in small groups, but we're gonna try it here. Okay, so I'm gonna give each person a clue. Where are my clues? Here we go. I might give you 2 clues. I'm gonna give 2 clues because we don't really have enough. That's all right, people. So let's see. There's Ingrid. Thank you, Ingrid. Oh, Ingrid. Let's see. I think I can just respond to Ingrid. Yeah, I think so. I think that's just responding to Ingrid. It's a little bit different than my. Yeah, it's a little different. I don't know how to individually send someone a message in here. I think that's been turned off. Oh, yeah. It looks like that's been turned off. So I can't send. I should have checked that out ahead of time. I sent one to Ingrid.
Yeah, I didn't get.
Yeah, because I can't send it to you because the chat it doesn't allow it. Let me just try it again. Nope, doesn't allow it. I can only send it to the whole. Well, I can't play the game. That's too bad. But I'll tell you what the game was like. Each person gets a clue, like a number clue. I'm going to put them all. I'll put them all in there for everyone because it doesn't let me just chat with individual people. I should have thought of that. I didn't know that was a thing. Let's see. Does that go to everybody? Yeah, your chat's set up so that I can't share it exactly correctly. I think it's different. I don't know. Can't do it. I don't know. So I'll just share I'll have to share them with the screen because it doesn't allow to do it in chat. All right, so here we go. So this is basically what it was like. So each student had 1 clue. For instance, the number is greater than 20, and they could only share that orally. Another student had the number is a multiple of 7. Another one had the number is less than 80. Another one had the number is not divisible by 5. The sum of its digits is 9, and it is an odd number. So the group could not figure out the answer without all those parts, without listening to each person's part instead of talking over them all the time. And so it was a really different activity that really forced them as a group. They had to quiet down and listen to the other person, and each person had to share their clue. And so in the end, in this case, the answer was 63. And the group had to come up with that on their own. And it was a radically different task than a lot of the group tasks that we've used in the past, because every single person's voice counted. Without every person's input, you couldn't do it. And it didn't help. You couldn't talk over them. They couldn't just write it down and just not contribute either. So anyway, so that's what we did. And in the end, that particular class, students loved it the most. The empathy circle plus this particular math activity that insisted that everyone have a voice and be heard created more empathy in the math class. And at the end, students hands down said, this was our favorite class. And when they said it, it was like with their heart instead of just like, oh, we love Mayan numbers, right? And people said, I didn't realize how much. One particular student who really did monopolize conversations quite a bit said, I didn't realize how much I was monopolizing conversations in earlier classes. And this person was kind of repentant and was like, wow, I wasn't really hearing people. Another person said, I worked really hard at listening to the other people in the class. And one, there was a class for people who maybe were afraid of math. So one said, I finally felt heard in math class. And I can't read the bottom when I have my video there. We worked more collectively like the ants today, right? They love the ant video. So this is just one example of one bottom-up, one contribution of one teacher in a classroom impacting students. It's kind of like what Masha was saying, trying to get everybody involved and cross-pollinating and stuff instead of just having it all be so separate. And it's my example, right? It's just what I did. And I feel like people can do stuff at home, empathy circles or whatever they're doing, school, meetings, at your job, grocery store, on the drive home, right? Instead of flipping people off, right? You could be, you could do something there too. But I feel like there's a lot of opportunities for these little points, a lot of different points of really bottom up empathy moves that people can make that can contribute to the global empathy movement. And this is just my one example that I shared with you today because I felt like it did contribute to the empathy movement, even though it's not big in vision and a top-down thing, but it's what I can do in the context of my life that can impact others and bring empathy circles to them and empathy to them. So anyway, and that's it.
That was fantastic. I always get delicious things from you. I heard vision from the top down and activity from that bottom up. And in that activity, facilitation and co-creation requires a lot more empathy than those older traditional models. It's much easier to not have empathy if you're commanding and controlling somebody. Yeah. I also heard empathy as a communication tool and how you used empathy and math together. I love that. Thank you so much. I now